Good afternoon, Actions for Justice members. This is Ed coming to you live. Apparently, I did another video for the Americans Against Foreclosures group, and it didn't come out because of the microphone. I've changed the mic, so I think that should be better. I'll even bring it a little closer and see if that sounds a little better. Yeah, I think so. I'm testing it. There we go. I think that's better. Okay, let me introduce myself then. I'm Ed, one of the members of Actions for Justice, and also a homeowner and a member of Americans Against Foreclosures. You can visit our websites at www.axj.com, or you can go to Americans Against Foreclosures on www.axj.n as in November and U as in uranium. Okay, so it's very important that you do visit us if you are a homeowner, and I'm referring specifically to Americans Against Foreclosures because we have 500,000 hits on a website that's basically informative to homeowners. Now, what's going on in the United States in 2024 is a repeat of what happened in 2008. And I think you all remember September 15th, I believe, 2008, the financial crisis we had, one of the biggest since the Great Depression. And I think you all remember that basically what happened, it was based on the mortgage-backed securitization, mortgage-backed securities and securitization process where they were pooling loans together and then selling them to investors. I'm sure you all remember that. But if you don't, it's a good thing. Okay. Now, what I don't want happening now is that this happens again in 2024, which it looks like it is going to happen because we had a bad week on the 15th of August of 2004. The stock market dropped, I don't think what it was, 10% or 1% or whatever it was. It was a large amount. And that has repercussions globally. I think it started in Japan, and it came over to the United States, and then it'll go to Europe. But the issues seem to be the same. When homeowners in the United States, which I think there's approximately 80 or 100 million homeowners in the United States, have less income for A, B, C reasons, and they can't make their mortgage payments, they're suddenly in default. Now that sends a tidal wave across the United States and across the world. I think Japan was at the beginning of it. I don't know all the technicals, economic, financial specifics of what happened, but I know there's something in the air. Something's going on. I think it has to do with banking, and I think it might be due to the fact that many of the alleged loans and mortgages that homeowners took out 10, 20, 30 years ago now, they find themselves in default. They can no longer make the payments. They can no longer pay taxes, property taxes. And they're in a bad situation financially. And they're elderly now. They're over 60. Now what do? You're retired now. You're on fixed income. You can't make a mortgage payment of $1,000 or $2,000 or $3,000 a month. You just can't afford that anymore. Now what happens? Well, the inevitable, right? You're going to have somebody knocking at your door, putting up a notice of default, a notice of trustee sale, and then a notice of eviction, right? Or quit, pay or quit. And then you have the sheriff knocking at the door with guns, all right? And demanding you all leave your home, the whole family, everyone. Is that inevitable? No. Can it be stopped? Yes. Who's it going to take to stop it? Well, the same ones that created it, I guess. I don't know, the politicians, right? The judges. Who's it going to take to stop this? Well, all I know is that from hundreds of thousands of complaints filed due to all of this, and I know the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has investigated some of these cases, there's a pattern here. There's a pattern of these loans or these alleged loans, the paper being fraudulently assigned, they call it, from one to another to another to another. But in reality, nobody knows who owns what. And that's the reality of it. When you file a complaint in the court, you find yourself going after a party that calls themselves a servicer, the one that allegedly receives the money that you pay every month, your mortgages, right? Your mortgage payment. And then it turns out that they are not the real party in interest because they're not a beneficiary of the alleged note that you signed and documents. Now, I just so happen to have all these documents here. Okay, homeowners have sent them to me over the years. I've got my own as well. And it's not good what I'm looking at. It's not good at all. I have a case here that's in district court. It's been accepted into district court, filed. I have what's called the note, the original note, which is the promise to pay someone for an amount of money they allegedly lent you. But under investigation, it turns out, here's a copy of the note, right? It's got 2 hole punches at the top, but then it's blacked out. So there's no number on it, so you don't know what this belongs to. Also, the fact that it's not signed by both parties, just one signature on this page, This makes it look like it's fraudulent because nothing happened here. It's only one party signing it. There's supposed to be 2 parties at least, So this looks fraudulent, but this is a promise to pay that you signed, and somebody allegedly has this original document, right? So if you're going to go to court, that's the first document you should ask for. You subpoena that document, the original document, not one that's all blacked out and not signed, no endorsements, nothing. You want the original document if you go into court. Then you have another document which is called the deed of trust or mortgage. It depends on the state you're in. I'm looking for that right now to show it to you. Yeah, here we go. Deed of trust. There we go. This is extensive. It's small print, tiny print, and it's just page, and page. The funny thing is, again, it's all blacked out. There's no numbers to it. You don't know what it belongs to. But allegedly, these 2 documents go together, this note and this deed of trust document. Basically, you have the IOU, someone, and the deed of trust, which they record, and which says, if you don't pay the amount specified here, well, we can come after you and auction off. We'll have a trustee auction off and sell the property. Okay? You got nothing to say about it. In non-judicial states, which is what the West Coast and such, they don't have to go to a court. They don't have to file anything in a court. They just get a trustee or a trial, one of these companies out there, reconveyance companies, which is supposed to reconvey the title and all that, right? To send you out a notice of default and then a notice of trustee sale. And then they auction off and sell the property if you haven't paid the amounts that they're saying. Okay. Now, how do you know if you pay the amounts or not? Well, you ask them for a payment history, which, we've asked for here. We have here an extensive payment history for 20 years, right? Over 20 years. All right. But when we look at it, it starts off in default. You've defaulted on their first payment on this, which is not true because the homeowner made the payment within the first 15 days. They give them a grace period. And they already created a default. So if this loan is already in default, it continues to be in default and accrues penalties and interest, more interest and more interest. So this bubble just keeps growing. I mean, this snowball just keeps growing because it starts off in default. So this pay history is not something you can hang your hat on. Okay, so you have to review this document and carefully. Have an accountant do it. Doesn't cost much. Have an accountant review it. So you've got your note, your deed of trust, and your payment history, which is not an agreement. So what can you do? You can file a complaint, or you can file for bankruptcy protection if you don't have the money. So in a bankruptcy, they'll put you in a plan. They'll say, hey, how much you owe? Okay, we'll put you a plan, set you up, and you got to make so many payments every month, so much money, which you don't have, and pay this thing down or pay it off eventually. Okay, but you still got more fraud going on because you ask for statements and they send you these weird things that you don't understand, that it's saying there's a principal amount out there that's accruing interest, that unpaid amount, but it doesn't say it's actually, what is this called? They're calling it a mortgage statement, and it's saying somebody owes somebody, and it's not very detailed. And they're saying they're debt collectors attempting to collect a debt, or they're saying they're not debt collectors attempting to collect a debt. Mumbo jumbo again. Okay, so get to the bottom of this. Get to the bottom of what all this means. You can do that by sending them what's called a qualified written request, a QWR, qualified written request pursuant to RESPA, which is the Real Estate Settlements Procedures Act. Okay, so you do that. You send it to them, asking them for all the documentation, everything they have on your file there, and your mortgage statements, and your assignments. You want to see the assignments as well. Assignments you can get from a title company. Okay, give a title company a call and tell them you want a preliminary title report of all the documents recorded on the title of your property, and they will send you a copy. And then in this particular case, we have what's called an assignment of the deed of trust. So basically, the deed of trust document, they separated it from the note, and now they're transferring that from one party to another, to another, to another. But the deed of trust without the note is null and void, because the deed of trust has to follow the note. Whoever has the note, that's who owns, or allegedly should have, the deed of trust, because those documents have to be together. They have to be stamped with the same number, and they have to correspond one to the other. Otherwise, there's fraud involved. So in this particular case, this homeowner's got one assignment of deed of trust. Number two, assignment of deed of trust. Number three, assignment of deed of trust. Number four, assignment of deed of trust. Number five, there's a corporate assignment of deed of trust. And number six, another assignment, a corporate assignment of deed of trust. So what these things are saying is that your documents went from A to B to C to D to E and to F, right? But they didn't, because there are unrecorded assignments, which you should find out about as well. Because apparently, if you look closely at your documents, and I'm not saying every homeowner, but most homeowners will see that on their note, in very small letters, there's something that appears under here as Fannie Mae. Now, who's Fannie Mae, you may ask? The Federal National Mortgage Association. Apparently, they were created by the government, so they're a government entity, right? So you're telling me that the document you signed was paid for and bought by the federal government. So it's the federal government that now owns the debt, right? Your loan, the money they lent you, right? According to this. So, well, the homeowners decided to send Fannie Mae a letter and request, qualified written request, what I'm telling you, and request the documents. And lo and behold, yes, it's true. Fannie Mae says, yeah, we own your loan. Okay. So then who are all these other companies? And they come back with, well, we don't know. Have you received my payments over 20 years? No, I haven't received any payments because we work with them. So where did my money go? Over 20 years, I've been paying these alleged servicers, right? In the deed of trust, in the deed of trust, it says that they can reassign the loan and sign it to somebody else, and yada 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 yada. Okay, and I requested a title report and chain of title or chain of events on title, right? I requested that. I got that back, and I've got the documents showing that, it went from A to B. Wait a minute. There's no assignment to Fannie Mae. How is that possible? Wait a minute. You bought the loan, Fannie Mae, but there's no assignment of the documents to you. So who has the documents? Well, look at your chain of title. Well, wait a minute. How can the documents go from A to B if they went to you, Fannie Mae, A to Fannie Mae, and Fannie Mae never assigned the documents to anybody else? So there's something wrong here. It couldn't have gotten to number 2 here because it had to be from A to Fannie Mae and Fannie Mae to the next one and the next one and the next one, right? Logical. Well, guess what? You file this in court. And the judge looks at it and he says, well, you're a homeowner, you're a deadbeat, you didn't pay, I don't care. I rule in favor of the banks. So what do you do now? That's called a summary judgment. He just decided everything because he looked at the documents. He said, well, you owe somebody, so you didn't pay them, so they can steal your house. After 20 years of paying, they can just come and steal my house because these documents say that I didn't pay, but I did pay, but they put me in default, and yada, yada. Doesn't make sense, right? Okay, so you appeal. So it goes up to the appellate court. And it says, well, the parties weren't the parties because it doesn't look like they had anything to do with it. So, we're denying the appeal because there's nothing to appeal here. So I have a veteran friend of mine who decides to file a higher appeal. Nothing happens. He goes up to circuit court, federal court, then in the appellate court, nothing happens. Then he decides, oh my God, then I'm going to Supreme Court. He files in the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court of the United States comes back with mumbo jumbo and says, well, they can't do anything about it. So he says, but wait a minute. I requested a trial by jury on all of this because I don't want the judge, to be a party of this because judges have houses too. And, they're a party to this in a sense. And the trustee and the bankruptcies are involved because they have a lot of houses they buy and sell all the time. So I don't trust what the judges are telling me. So don't I have a constitutional right by the Constitution of my state and the federal Constitution to a trial by jury? Well, no, sir. No. I mean, that's the law. So I'm sorry. So it looks like in the United States, your constitutional rights mean nothing to the government, right? You're supposed to have a right to trial by jury, and you don't ever get a trial by jury when it comes to the dispute of the facts of a contract, because this is basically contract law. That's all it is. It's got millions of pages here. Okay, this is one loan and one paperwork, all the paperwork that's taken place with one loan, starting with the Uniform Residential Loan Application, the 1003 it's called, that you filled out. Gave them all your information. They approved you for a loan to buy your home, or they approved you to refinance the loan you took out originally on better terms, lower interest rate, better payments, yada, yada, all this paperwork, all over again. And they did it. You had the house appraised, the appraiser came out, and the assessor's office. And then you're looking at title, and now it gets really weird because you pull up on the title report what your title actually says, and it says that you are a tenant. You're a tenant on the property. And you say, well, wait a minute, I'm married. What about my wife? No, yes, that's contemplated too. You're joint tenants. You don't own anything. You don't know. What do you think? You own land in America? What are you, crazy? You're nut? You're tenants. You got to pay the federal government. You got to pay the state government. You owe taxes. Because right there, the first thing on the preliminary title report is your taxes. Have you paid your property taxes? No, you haven't paid them? Well, you're a tenant. And if you don't pay your property taxes in 5 years, we're going to take the house. So forget about the banks and all these others. We're going to take the house from you. So all these years, you've been paying into a system that the land is not yours, the home is not yours. You find out when you go to the assessor's office, and he says, well, wait a minute, there's somebody different on the title here of the property than who's in the assessor's office. And so you don't know what to do at this point. You go crazy. And I've had these homeowners fighting for 10 years now, 15 years, since 2008, fighting, and hundreds of them, hundreds and thousands. Go check the website, Americans Against Foreclosures, www.axj.nu. Go check the website and see how many hits it has. Looks like 500,000. So 500,000 homeowners, probably homeowners, who else is going to look at the website like that, are seeing this happen every day since 2008. And we calculate that 1 million houses have been foreclosed on every year, and another 1 million will be foreclosed on in 2004 and 2005, and it'll probably get worse and worse and worse. So they've lost their homes. The families are on the street. They're evicted. We have a poverty in the United States. We have people losing their jobs. We have, no income. How are these people going to support their house? How are they going to pay the bills? We don't know. We don't know what's coming up. But, we've reached out to Mr. Trump and see if he'll stop this, if he will say anything about it. I don't think it's in his interest to do anything about it. We reached out to Kamala, who prides herself of being the Attorney General of a state. And we know that she took some actions against the banks, but then we're hearing that she kept all the money that they received from the banks. So we don't know what to think. So that's the situation in 2024. November, we have an election coming up, and we don't know who to vote for. And nobody's talking about the elephant in the room. This is the biggest problem in the United States. Not the Russians, not China, not the wars, but potentially 100 million homeowners and landlords and farmers and owners of property in the United States are going to lose their homes in foreclosures, this is called, and then their families will be evicted, or they're going to lose their homes to the 1%, right? To the Chinese investors, to the Russian investors, to all that 1% around the world that have that money available now, cash. Since you can't pay your house and you're a tenant anyway, they're going to take it from you. So all I can say is wake up, join us, Americans Against Foreclosures, www.axj.nu. Donate as much as you can. We ask for a $10 subscription fee, $1 a month. Join us, donate. Any little bit helps. It helps us create more websites. It helps us file more complaints. It helps us hire attorneys to represent us and try to fix this mess. But it is a big mess. Because if chain of title is broken, they can't steal your house. How? They don't have the documents. They never did. They were all sold to Fannie Mae. That's the situation we're in. So contact us, please. You can feel free to contact me. Send me an email, ed@axj.com. Ed, E-D. Simple. Send me an email. Tell me your problem. See how I can help you. Anything to do with the foreclosures and evictions and guardianships, that's another big issue that's coming up. I'm retired now. I'm elderly. I worked at the banks for 40 years. I've given up on them, what can you do? They took my pension away. They switch banks one or the other. Every 5 years they do that. So they don't have to honor any of the previous contracts. They do that all the time. That's the situation in America. That's capitalism. Everybody wants capitalism, right? Well, let's control capitalism. Otherwise, we're all going to end up sunk like the Titanic. Look at who was not on the Titanic. That's very important. Just check that. All right, everyone. I leave you with those thoughts. And like I say, this is Zed over at Actions for Justice, AXJ, and Americans Against Foreclosures. Feel free to Google us. Feel free to go to our websites. And feel free to email me. Okay? Everyone, stay well. Have a nice weekend. And see you in November. Bye-bye now.